I have noticed a lot of people who are successful in an organization move to the next organization, get a fantastic job and a raise, go there and are absolute disasters. Why does this happen? It happens because the earlier manager actually created a platform for his success. And by the way, people don't leave organizations, they leave people, right? So you are working with a set of people who gave you the right platform to succeed. But that success got into the head. And because that success got into the head, the person went to the next organization and said, I am damn good. And suddenly realizes he's no good. Now, the first thing is getting the right job for the guy. Yes, agreed. A very nice statement to make, but that's a process of experimentation. But yes, I think each manager carries the responsibility of creating that platform for success. So, India is moving from managers to coaches. Your managers can no longer be managers anymore. What's the difference between a manager and a coach? The manager is primarily task-oriented. He's got to get the results. But who's a coach? A coach is a person who speeds up the process of transfer of experience and knowledge. You need the culture. And in fact, a lot of companies are now moving towards managers evolving as coaches. You can't keep hiring external coaches. They're extremely expensive. External coaches can be had for top line. But when you're looking at people who are middle level and people who are junior enough, you need managers to be coaches. And managers only monitor performance. They do not manage performance. The difference between monitoring of performance and management of performance is I look at whether the objectives have been met. That's not what they're supposed to do. They are supposed to look at how can I help you to manage those objectives. If you got those managers, yes, you're ready to manage turbulence. This is the interesting part after which we'll come to the end of the session. If you look at the capability versus motivation to accomplish goals of your folks within the organization, there could be various configurations of people within the organization. Now, this is our model. We constantly work on this model. You will notice there are certain rude statements being made here which are outplace. You will have to outplace. I think in the Indian tradition we have this problem. Why are we getting rid of our people? But the point is you've got to constantly look at your bottom 15%. I know certain HR folks got admitted into hospitals because they were ridden with severe guilt that I had to ask so many people to leave. But you can't help it. If the person is in a box which is primarily low on motivation, however expert in terms of technology he may be in, you've got a problem on hand. Now, I have noticed a lot of people in IT in box 3. Extremely good at work. The moment a problem comes or the moment a turbulence comes, they can throw absolute technology jargon to justify why that turbulence cannot be dealt with. The more 3s you have, the more problems you have. But the HR folks are going to have this challenge. Your managers are not going to let off these number 3s because the orientation towards technology is extremely high. But that's dangerous. So if you look at 1, 2 and 3, you've got a problem. But as we start moving towards motivation medium and motivation high, it doesn't matter whether the person is good on technology or not, because he will acquire those capabilities for sure because the motivation to deliver results is high. Now, where does this model fit into turbulence? You will never have people in 9. You will constantly have people either moving into 8 and 7 because of new projects, because of new technologies, or you could actually have people whose motivation level starts falling after a few years, and then you run the risk of a number 9 moving into a number 3. And by the way, number 3 is a great place to be in. You are well respected in the organization as a techie guy. You're a specialist. You know everything. And you can get out of any argument. But these are the people who are high maintenance employees because high technology guys take fat salaries and solve no problems. So your challenge is there. So there are certain indicators here on how to deal with the challenge, but I know that the solution number 3 is going to hurt you a lot. And it hurts me a lot at times too in my organization because I tend to have this feeling. 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, I've nourished this guy, I've coached this guy, and all of a sudden I have to say, okay, this guy has to go. But he has to go because he's not going to scale your organization up. Your 9 is ready for hiring by your competitors. 9 can move anytime. 9 needs a mentor. One of the findings that we have is the moment you give a mentor to a person within the organization, actually, people who are on the way out, who have taken a decision to move out, they actually say, I don't want a mentor because they feel guilty. But if you do give a mentor, you actually control the attrition of number 9s. And this is the undesired attrition that we're talking about. loads of 8s and loads of 7s. Unfortunately, as a trainer, when I move into a training program, I get loads of 1, 2 and 3. Why? Because the manager gives these fellows for training. Ho kya re? Probably this fellow will do something to you. Prashant called me a guru. I am a student here. I learn from every participant that comes into my workshop. And I have learned one thing very clearly, which I want to confess to all of you here. I have not been able to do anything with 1, 2 and 3s. Because they have decided not to do anything in life. Right? So, this box, actually I was stunned. One of the certification programs that we were doing for HR BPHR, and I went to meet on a follow-up call one of the HR person, and I saw this on the laptop, and I said, "What are you doing with this?" No, I like this model, and I'm now putting my people in each of the boxes, and I know where my organization is now. So I'm now seeing how to move these guys. So if you look at those weird things that we've drawn there, let's look at the first triangle. If you've got a lot of people in that 7, 4, and 8, still doing okay. No problem. You will be able to bail out. Not a problem at all. If you go 4, 5, 2, and 1, sunk. You're gone. Nothing is going to move. If you got 5, 6, 3, and 2, you lost your 6s. They'll leave the organization. Your 3s have become the kings in the organization who preach how this particular turbulence cannot be dealt with. Your 5s are happy because at least they're working, and they tell the manager that 3 fellow is not doing anything, at least I'm doing something, right? And the 3 is polluting the 2 and is actually helping you move to 1. So you got a problem there. Right? So the only way out looks like is 8, 6 and 5, because very few 9s, not more than 5%. Though you'd love to have lots of 9s within your organization. But if you do want to beat the bell curve, and if you do want to have a lot of 9s, tested formula, which I use in my own company, constantly look at bottom 15%. You will have people in 9, for sure. And I tell you, people are not bad. When they realize that their performance is being managed and they're being closely monitored, they do start delivering for sure. Another thing that I seriously believe in, managers do tend to spoil their subordinates. You can imagine any manager fitting in one of these boxes where the motivation level is low, it's gone. Can't really help. Gen X and Gen Y challenges. Both ways you got a challenge. Gen X, process. Gen Y hates process. They'll violate every process. So the friction starts. Turbulence is caused by workforce because of frictions. Gen X, predictable environment. I must know how the future looks like. I don't want to work with an unpredictable situation, though there are exceptions. Full resistance to change. Conservative. I have known a lot of Gen X guys telling their Gen Ys, when I was your age, I didn't do this. So he looks at him, so what? You're not my dad, right? So I've heard that enough from my dad, right? So I don't want to hear that story anymore. Very high level of tolerance. Tend to treat their subordinates as bachas. Time do, ho jayega. That's how it goes, right? Very high relationship orientation. I can't let him go. I feel very, very guilty. I don't even want to move him to the another team. He is my kid. No, how can I let him go? Happy. Now, there used to be a time in Pune. It's my favorite joke. Get out of COEP, join one of the companies, retire. Now it's not that situation anymore, right? And comfort driven. I mean, I've made it in life and I don't want anything more. In fact, I know for instance, a lot of organizations say, there is a new startup that we want to go into. Can you move to the next city? Nako, I want to be here only. And that's the situation that I'm talking about. Gen Y, exactly opposite. Casual. Don't force clothing structures and uniforms within the organization. I don't like it. In fact, a lot of times I tend to have these questions when I take interviews. What are we allowed to wear? I say, come out in 6 months, then you better give me a double promotion end of the year. I don't care, So we're talking about high level of impatience. I don't want projects which are long drawn. I want instant gratification. I want instant successes, Can't help it. One of the reasons why outdoor programs are very successful is this, by the way, a secret. They see instant success of everything that they do. They enjoy it thoroughly. You put them into a classroom training and work out a 6-month affair on how you will go. They don't love it. They say, nah, no, we don't want it, right? Highly experimental in nature. Want to constantly do new things. They get fed up very fast. Huh? So they want to move projects, whereas the Gen X guy says, why do you want to move so fast? Look at me. I've been in this project for such a long time. He says, so what? What do I do? So they want to move. Quick fixes and quick wins is what they want to go for. Somebody's talking long term and somebody's talking about short terms, Totally disoriented. Every time I've asked this question, what kind of a career do you look for? Malum nahi. I'm too young to know what I should be doing. So what do you mean you're young? You're already done. You're out of your B school, right? No, I'm still very young. It'll take me another 6-8 years at least to find out what I should do. So I said, what? You're joining me for experimentation? Am I going to finance your experimentation? I don't really intend to do that, right? So highly disoriented, material orientation very high. I equate my job completely to the money, and I'm willing to hop for even a 10% or a 20%. Overambitious. But I don't want to take that effort to feed to my ambition. I want a job where the effort is low but the growth is fast. There isn't a job like that, right? And tons of shortcuts. Compliance is a huge issue when it comes to Gen Y. So how the hell do you deal with this turbulence? Because you got people different. The only way to deal with this is there has to be a critical mass of people within the organization who practice the culture. And that's what I learned from Toyota. I mean, when you look at the Toyota principles, they actually promote people in the organization, only those who practice the culture of the organization. And that's where it works. If those critical mass, which is the minority within the organization, is able to control it, I don't think there would be a problem. Last slide. This is our approach towards managing turbulence, which is what we call transcendence. I mean, atyasa actually means transcending to reality. It's a Vedic word. I know a lot of people tend to ask me what atyasa means. It's basically transcending to reality, or moving up to reality. Now, what we're saying is talentize completely. You have to have majority people who are talents. Gone are those days when people used to say all sorts of people are required in the organization. Not anymore. Let's break that myth completely. Talentize, that means you must have the right talent management process within the organization. Identify, groom, deploy. And talent, only talent. Rapidize. You can't have the organization going slow. Another thing that's been found is as the organization grows, the response time starts depleting. Can't afford to do that in turbulent times. Actualize, which primarily means you need people who are very clear, this is what I want to do in life. Now, it can't be happening at all the levels, but at least at the top level, let's be very clear. We need people who know this is where I am, and this is what I enjoy doing, and this is what my cause in life is. Neutralize. You got to neutralize you must have a strong weeding out system within the organization. If you don't do that, you're not going to be able to manage the turbulence. Strategies are very important. Can't take ad hoc decisions. You have to constantly, in every meeting, in every place where you meet people, you got to constantly tell them this is our vision and this is what we stand for. Because people tend to forget visions. As an internal auditor for an organization, I knew every time I asked this person while I was doing an internal audit, what's the vision of the company? And I knew he had it in his drawer, because he knows the auditor asked this question. So I said, Robert, thought that's a cool. Okay, as long as you peep into that drawer and tell me what the vision is, I'm pretty happy about it. Let it not be an ornamental piece at the reception area, which people don't even look at. So that's one thing that we're talking about here. Conceptualize. That means you've got to constantly work on conceptualizing new products, new ideas, new innovations, and you might want to have the center of innovations within the organization. Energize your teams. That's one area of focus which actually HR has to work upon. High energy teams are extremely important and they're required. Naturalize, that means you're going to have a lot of lateral hires coming in, and naturalization processes, get them into the culture. And that's where I love the way Parsis put it across to the king when they came into the state of Gujarat. They told the king asked them, how are you going to gel in our culture? They got the glass of milk and they put sugar into it and said, this is how it's going to be, right? So they got to gel, And of course, new blood is important within the organization. Empower people completely. You cannot afford to have people who are not giving you return on investment. For every salary that's being paid, people have to deliver. And you can't be carrying fat packets and not delivering anything, So that's where, it's too big a topic, but I thought I'll just put the basic ideas through. I'm